Welcome, everyone. We're talking about new features of Oracle Analytics Cloud of the November 2025 and January 2026 releases. Three distinguished guests today. Branden Pavol from Worthing Steel, our friend Gautam Pisharam, who is the Principal Product Manager of Analytics at Oracle, and a newcomer, Carter Beaton, who is a Business Intelligence Lead Consultant from Argonaut. Welcome, gentlemen. It's good to have you here. A little bit more about what we do here at our TechCast. We have just one from this year, but we have, as you can see, a lot of technical information out here. 2025, I think we did 13 or 14 different TechCasts on an innumerable number of topics. Well, I guess it wouldn't be innumerable, would they? But on a wide array, a cornucopia of topics. The last one we just did was just back a month ago on microservices for Oracle AI. Quite interesting. And again, you may notice that we have a video replay, and also we try to get the slides downloaded as quickly as possible. But wait, there's more. We have a website, AnDOUC.org. We actually have a separate Slack channel for anyone that wants to reach out to us. That is wide open to anyone. You can join us there anytime. Previous TechCasts out on YouTube, as I mentioned, we caption them quite extensively. LinkedIn, of course, we're way live on LinkedIn. We're on Blue Sky, believe it or not. And of course, Spatial and Graph Sig on LinkedIn as well. Now, one big thing we want to tell you about. We still have registration wide open. We just closed early bird registration for Analytics and Data Summit 2026, which is going to be at on April 14th to 16th at some folks say Redwood Shores, RWS. I say Oracle Headquarters OG, the original headquarters where everything happened. Yep, with the boat in the moat. If you have not been to our summit, it is an amazing experience. Last year, as you can see, we definitely aged down. We had several younger students that attended our conference, and it really changed our vibe. This year, it looks like we're going to have nearly 50 university students, some graduates, some still undergrad, coming to our conference, and some amazing content. If you take a look at that particular link, you can take a look at our agenda. It's going to be 2.75 days, I guess, of content all around everything from analytics plus to spatial and graph to, of course, AI and data engineering and business intelligence. But enough about us. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. Branden's up first. He's going to be talking about best practices for using AI agents in OAC. Gautam's going to be talking about one of my favorite features, vector tiles. I think it's such a cool thing. And then Carter's going to take us home with some slick new features of the current two releases. So I will let Branden grab the screen.
Thanks, Jim. I'm going to jump in and share my screen here. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. Jim, can you hear me all right still?
I sure can.
All right, we can see the screen. Okay, so when you're working with an AI agent, first, there's OAC agents are not new from the nomenclature, but they are new in the release in this particular context. If you have not seen, the agents are not just email schedulers the way that you had them before. These are different user chat experiences, but as you're doing it, I want to show you some of the best practices that I've found so far. When you're building it out, it's best to start with what's called an LSA. If you're not familiar with that, that's a local subject area. So essentially you build a one-off data set from a subject area, and then from that, you start your AI assistant build. So I'm just going to skip a step and show you how I have already an inventory viewer, LSA, and AI assistant builds. But by doing that, Actually, I can open it first, and then I can show you that you build the subject area, or I'm sorry, your data set from this LSA, local subject area, and you can pull it in and put in your data set. Once you've built that, then you can go in, once you've created it, go to that same data set that you've built, and then go to inspect. And from here, you can go into the search. Search is where you would then choose to index it for either assistant or assistant and the home page. That alone is not enough. You need to change the scope. So when you go to the scope page, this is when you need to go through all of your columns that you have in your data set and add synonyms to them. This is where it's important to make sure that all of these points, all of these columns or attributes are conversational ready. What are the words that people are going to be asking your chat assistant to say? Well, sometimes I talk about available quantity as just quantity, or sometimes I say what's on hand, and it might be spelled differently. Sometimes if I say days in inventory, does that mean aging? All the different ways that somebody may use different nomenclature for the same thing. This is your way to say these are the same things. Then you would run the index search, and it would tell you when it's ready. A handy new feature is you can add to check a box to say this is a sensitive data point. So I haven't practiced with this, but this is an additional fancy feature that I believe would be good, particularly if you're working with maybe an HR data set, or you've got something within it that you say, I've got someone's name in here, but I don't want that person's name to be brought up in the data set. It's also important to know the difference between indexing just a name or the name and values. So I wanted to know from an item description, if I were to say, show me something with an item description with something in the content, it would know to do that. So understanding the difference between name and values is important. Once you've built that, you can then go in and you can open up this as a data set, and then you have the ability to chat with your assistant. That's one way of doing it, but the AI agent adds another layer to it. If I were to take this and I just start chatting with it, it's only going to give me information related to this, no additional context. I want to add additional context to it. How do I do that? You could then go in and create an AI agent. So when you do that, you have the ability to then bring in your assistant. And so here's my AI assistant, and it comes in and I can add supplemental instructions, add messages, and add documents for RAG. I'm going to skip a step because I've already done this, and I'm going to show you that. So now I have this agent, and when I open it up, it brings you to this dialog. And I've already put in my initial questions. And so I can edit that at any point and come in and say, here's my supplemental instructions. Here's my first messages. Here's a RAG document. And I can always come down here and see what are the synonyms that I've already done in my AI assistant step. But I can come into here and add that additional information to refine the data point. And one thing that I found to be helpful is if you specify in the supplemental instructions, whenever I ask a question, always show results where the chart type equals a table. In this particular scenario, the one that I'm working with is the type of format that I would prefer. I wouldn't always prefer it to be a table, so you can choose that. And then you can also specify, I have a lot of columns in here. I don't want every single column to be in that table. So default only show these few columns. Other information around pending and available. So to use that as an example, I'm going to come into here and I'm going to say, show me coils that are pending. It will give you a response, and depending on how you've asked your questions and depending on how you've given your instruction, it may give you the result you want, it may not. Luckily enough, it did work. So I said, show me coils that are pending, and it gave me the data set that I asked for with the table columns based on my instructions. And then it also put the excess indicator equal P. It wouldn't have known that. P doesn't mean anything in the data set, but because I was able to add that additional content in the supplemental instructions, it knew to apply that filter. Something else I want to be able to do is say something more around the RAG content. Well, there is additional information that we wanted to put in, but when it was given to me, it was in the structure of a table in Excel. Large language models do not like Excel. They don't like columns and rows, they like text. And so in order for these AI agents to work, everything essentially needs to be in text. But if I were to put it in format like this, it's not going to know that the recommended alloy equivalents for 045 are 300 and 310. So one, if I tried to upload it, it wouldn't work at all because it would say it doesn't match the format. But also it's not great for the large language model. So what I did end up doing with the assistance of some ChatGPT, I said, how can I convert this so that it is more compatible with a large language model and RAG? And so what you would end up saying is the alloy of 045 is this, the recommended equivalents are 300 and 310, stretch are this and this. So knowing that, I'm able to put that into the assistant or the agent, and that's my document right here. And then I can come in and I can say, what are similar alloys to 050? And it should bring back a response. This is generated from document knowledge, and it gave me essentially that same text so that it knows that I'm not trying to read a table and come back and interpret it and do this. When you're putting information, supplemental instructions, RAG documents into this, I have found that converting things to be in text format where there's always a reference to the first part and the second part. That way it's not saying column 1 is related to column 3 only on this row. It's more efficient this way. And so there's many more scenarios to build on this. There's some clarifying things. You will have to go back and forth, but the convenience of being able to edit it, hit save, go back and hit run, you will be able to work through some of those kinks and before you send it out to the business users and say, good luck, here you go. There are additional ways to add this into your workbook once it's done. There are a couple features that can be done there. I believe there's videos on how to do that. I would recommend prior to putting it into a dashboard, you really work through the kinks on using this product. That's all I have for today. I can answer some questions either live or if we want to put them in the chat, you may put that and I'll respond to them while Gautam starts his section.
We don't have any questions right now, but that is fascinating. That is so cool. You pulled that together so quickly.
Well, I was lucky enough to work with Philippe Lyons on some early engagements, and so I got some good advice.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, well, back over to you, Gautam.
Thank you. Let me start sharing my screen. All right. I hope everyone is doing well. So I'm going to introduce everyone to the latest and greatest from the maps world of Oracle Analytics. The feature is called Vector Map Layer. In simple terms, a vector map layer allows you to configure REST endpoints that let you stream vector tiles dynamically from a database, or even it could be a server that is hosting a very specific file format called PBF, which stands for Protocol Buffer Format. I'll give you more details as I progress with the session. So like I highlighted, the feature is called as vector map layer, and it's a feature that will let you stream vector tiles dynamically from a database, for example. And to show you a functional example, in this specific canvas, I've got two different map visualizations side by side. To give you a clear differentiator on the difference between a regular geometry definition and a vector tile. So a vector tile, like I highlighted, it's again a geometry definition that is streamed dynamically based on the user zoom area. It's basically dividing the map into small grids, and as a user zooms in, it even divides the small grids into even smaller grids, which will result in the generation of new vector tiles based on the zoom ranges that falls within those grids. Now, one reason why we really need to stream vector tiles when we already have the feature to natively render a geometry data type is what I'm going to functionally explain through this example. So like I highlighted, we have two different map visualizations side by side. They look the same from a zoomed out area. They are both geometry definitions, but there is still tons of difference between the level of detail that we have for each of these geometry polygon representations. So say for example, the left map visualization is a native rendering of geometry data type, but the visualization on the right hand side, it is streaming vector tiles dynamically from a database. The real difference is that, let me zoom into the same specific area in both the visualization. So say for example, I'm in this specific area, and if I zoom into the same specific area in the map visualization on the right, so I'll go in here. I can probably take an example from here. This is 70354, 70354. Okay. So I'll go into this specific level of detail, and I'm going to close in on here. So if you look at these two tiles from the same kind of an illustration, you would notice that in the map visualization that I have on the left, it's a native geometry rendering. But the level of detail that we have on the US postal code is much lesser when we compare to the actual vector tile that is getting streamed on the right. And this is getting streamed dynamically from a database. Now, the real reason why we have to stream a vector tile in relation to the native rendering support for geometry data type is that when we try to natively render a column with geometry data type, it tries to download the entire set of geometry into the web browser. And typically, when we try to have geometry polygon definitions, which are of high precision details, uh, it might have a larger data volume compared to a traditional GeoJSON file. So say for example, the kind of level of detail that we have on the map visualization on the left, it is less precision. And because of that, the GeoJSON file or the geometry data volume will be like very less. But if all the geometry polygon are coming with high precision detail, then the data volume will be too large. And if you try to natively render it as a geometry data type, then it tries to download the entire high precision geometry definition into the web browser, and it might really impact the performance. And if you try to stream it directly from a database by generating the geometry definitions as a vector tile, it will be dynamic in nature as and when I'm zooming in. So in this example, you would notice that from a zoomed out layer, it will still look like polygons with lesser definition. But the moment I start zooming in, it divides the map into smaller grids. And as I'm zooming in, the small grids even get divided into even smaller grids. And then it tries to generate new vector tiles based on the user zoom definition area. Now, this will come in handy in a lot of use cases. So say, for example, um, I can still have the vector tiles streamed dynamically from the database, and I can then overlay my regular geometry on top of it. So this is an example wherein we have overlaid point geometry definition on top of the vector tile. Now, this will come in handy in use cases related to healthcare. This will come in handy in use cases related to public safety, so crime incidents, wildfire, or cyclones. This will come in very handy in utilities related use cases wherein you may need to stream data related to faults or failures of smart sensors related to electricity or water authority related utility customers. And you might need postal codes of very high definition. And that will help you accurately pinpoint issues in relation to the points that you're overlaying on top of your postal codes. Another example is on polygons. So polygons will come in very handy for retails or organizations like Department of Community and Justice. So in this specific example, we still have the postal code vector tiles, but as and when I'm zooming in, I'm also overlaying regular polygon geometry on top of it, which are also of high precision detail. This is also a vector tile generated from the database. And in this specific example, you can see that there is this one little building which is still part of a very specific postal code. But all the other buildings or all the other buildings in the neighborhood is part of a different postal code. So it will come in very handy to accurately pinpoint to a few of these polygon geometries because the precision of these geometrical boundaries are like very high precision. A different example could be lines, where we are overlaying lines on top of the same vector tiles. And this will come in very handy in infrastructure related projects like rails, roads, or metros, routing related technologies. This will come in handy for supply chain and logistics. So, in a nutshell, vector map layer is basically streaming high precision vector tiles on demand based on the user zoom, and will come in definitely handy in a variety of use cases where we really need to have polygon boundary definition of very high precision. I'll just take a few minutes to show you how to configure these vector tiles. So in Oracle Analytics, we have to go into the console. We have a dedicated area for configuring the vector map layer in the maps pane. So in the data layer, we can click on the add custom layer. Let me show you 1 second. Okay. So in the data layer, if I zoom, now let me show in add custom layer. So if I click on the add custom layer option, I get two different options. Earlier, we only used to have an option called as GeoJSON, which will let you import a GeoJSON file and the definitions within. Now we have a new feature called as vector tile. The moment we click on vector tile, it is going to ask the user to input two different endpoints. These are basically REST endpoints. One that says vector source endpoint, that is going to help you stream the vector tile from the database. And like I highlighted earlier, it has to be in a format called as PBF, which stands for protocol buffer format. And we also need to provide an endpoint for a GeoJSON file that contains information like your bounding box and interior point details. Now, one reason why we need to have two different URLs. The first URL is going to help you stream the vector tile, and the second GeoJSON based URL that contains bounding box and interior point detail will help Oracle Analytics to do few more interactive requirements like if you put the autofocus on, it will automatically focus on a very specific area or a very specific vector tile. And if you need to display your labels on top of it, the interior point will come in handy for that. So one URL is going to help you stream the vector tile, and the other URL comes in handy for Oracle Analytics to help you with all the interactions. Now, how to generate these two URLs? In this specific example, we are showcasing example from the Oracle database. So, say for example, I'll type in the very first code. So this is the REST interface within database, and I've created a module specifically for streaming the vector tile. So within the module, we have the endpoints created here. And when I zoom in into the handler creation, so you could notice that it is using a database functionality to get the vector tile. So this specific function that says sd underscore util dot get underscore vector tile, it is going to generate your vector tile from my table by the name US zip codes 1 GB. 1 GB is it's symbolic for the file that I uploaded into the database, which had high precision details. The file was of 1 GB, and then the table also has a geometric column by the name geom. And I'm also telling the system that we also need to consider an attribute column, which is the key that I'm going to map the vector layer from the dataset. And this specific SQL is going to then generate the vector tile based on the different zoom intersection, and then it will generate the vector tile using the vtile format from the specific database. Very similarly, so if I now go back into my modules, I have one more USA, ZCTA, BP, JSON1 and GB. This is a second module that we have. And if I go into the handler definition for that, this is going to create a GeoJSON file and expose that endpoint as a REST endpoint. And what it basically does, it generates the bounding box as well as the interior point details, which comes in handy for the different interactions like autofocus or display of the different labels and all. And once we execute these SQL scripts and once we expose the two endpoints, then we again go back into Oracle Analytics like I highlighted. We go back into the console, we go back into the maps. You configure the vector layer by going into the map layer area, click on the vector tile. You basically give the two endpoint definitions here, and then you come back in the report. So the right visualization had the vector map layer. I'm just using a sample data from the healthcare industry, and I've just dragged the zip code tabulation area. And this is going to get mapped with my map layer called US zip codes, which has the REST endpoint definition, and that will allow you to stream the vector tiles on demand and also let you interact with it based on the bounding box as well as the interior point details. I think I was on time. So that's basically it from my side. A little demo on the vector tiles. It will come in handy, like I highlighted, for a variety of map related use cases where we really need to use high precision vector tiles on demand. Thank you.
Nice. That is so slick. I've been adding some comments in while you've been talking to Gautam about I've done some experiments with this too, and I really like that pop-up ability, right? That either on a polygon or, folks, by the way, you can use this with points as well, right? A specific latitude, longitude point, and see things pop up and stuff like that. So awesome. Super cool. All right. Thanks, Gautam. Carter, your turn, sir.
All right. Give me 1 second, guys. Let me do a quick screen share here. There we go. And you guys should be able to see the Oracle Analytics home screen.
And looks great.
And you guys can hear me okay?
Outstanding.
All right. So today I want to just bring in a couple of new features that have popped in on November and January releases. These are probably hidden features that you guys may not have even paid attention to. Not nearly as cool as AI and vector mapping, but there's a couple of them that are huge. This first one I'm going to bring to you guys is huge. Been waiting for this one for years. If you're a longtime user of OAC and DV specifically, you have to appreciate this one. So the one that's come in is catalog organizations for data sets for data flows and machine learning objects, as well as scripts. If, like I said, you've been around for a while, you have put in some work on your scroll wheel on your mouse. Now, this environment's fairly new for us, so I don't have a lot of drag here, but there's been some times we've made this scroll wheel smoke trying to get to finding some of these data sets. And what they've done is they finally created a organization in the catalog for us. So I'm in the data set screen here, but now if you go into your catalog screen, you can now see two new folders at the bottom. And inside these two folders, you have data, which will house your data sets, connections, data flows, and sequences. And below that is your machine learning, which will house your scripts like your OCI function scripts and your models. Now, what makes this huge is not a new place to stick all, all your data sets, but a place where you can actually get to your data sets and then move them into different folders. Then you can start organizing them. One of the great features about that is once you start moving your data sets into different folders, they take on the security inside those folders for you. So, for example, I have a list of data sets here, and we can change this to, maybe a more palatable read here. We can change data types. We can still search on them, search by modified and name and things like that. But for example, if I want to take this this data set here, I can drag this data set into a catalog folder, and then it'll confirm the move. But when it confirms the move, it's going to just let you know when it does it, it's going to take on these security options. So originally, if you go into inspect and you look at it, and I'm using a different one here, it'll show you, what you may have manually set up as far as access to other users. But once you drop it into your folders here, and you are right here, Mr. Copy. When we go here, now it'll take on that security for all your different folders, giving you a level of organization that is so much helpful. As you can see, I was the only one that can see this, and now other users, whoever is in this group, in the sales group, should now be able to take on that sales history folder, inspect. So these guys right here, which is just the BI consumer group, should be able to see that as well. So this is going to be a huge break for us as far as organizing. And the nice thing about it is now you can do the same thing with your connections. You can put those in different folders, and you may change a little bit of your strategy on how you do organize your folders. You may need a connection and data set folders, subfolders inside your folders. But being able to access those data sets and bring them in and put them, in the data flows as well in the different places is big feature for us. You can also do it with your AI models. So any of your trained models that you may be putting in, you can actually move these into different folders. I have a bunch of the pre-trained models for the Oracle Vision stack that's built into OCI. And but this goes along with your machine learning, your Oracle machine learning models that you may have brought in, or any of your data science models that you may have brought in. Those, when you bring them in, just in case you don't know, this is how you register them. So when you register them now, these different models and these different functions, when you register them, they'll fall into one of these folders. And you can now move them from these folders just by simply either checking the box and clicking the move button up here at the top, right-clicking, telling it to do a move to, and then choosing that folder, or just a simple, hey, we got the drag and drop here now. And then you can pick one of these up, and I can take my pre-trained video detection, drop it into AI, confirm that move. I could swear I clicked that button, and it's going to take its time to move move that object here. Maybe it's not moving it, so I'm going to back out of that. And then you can go in and your corresponding data flows, for example, that may use those objects. You can, right click on those and move those into a different folder. But it's huge. You guys take your time, and especially you have large, long data sets and connection files, or plenty of data flows that it's just you're always running your search data, you're sorting by owner and things like that. This will I think definitely help you guys organize. So that's pretty much it for outside the tool and organization. But like I said, I think it's huge. I think you guys will love it. Make sure you use it. If you haven't already gained a large treasure chest of data sets and connections, if you start now, it'll help you in the future. Now I want to move into some stuff inside the workbook and dashboards for us. I'm going to jump into this workbook here, and I want to start off with the personalization. So if this is not a new feature, but it's been kind of reorganized, the personalization feature or the workbook state has been reorganized, and it just makes things a little bit easier for the end user. Comes into the dashboard, and you have personalization turned on for them. And what personalization is basically giving you the ability to save your filters in a specific state, and then allowing you to retrieve that state. Or if you've walked away from the workbook and it's timed out, it will allow you to pick up back where you've left off as far as which tab you're in, and what your filters have been selections. So you're not trying to remember, oh, I was drilling down and then I had to run, take care of fire and then come back, and I want to get back to my analysis, and so you don't have to start over. You can save the state, and that state, those state options are over here in what they call the state menu. And now in the state menu, it used to be kind of hidden behind a little extra drop down box, and users would kind of get lost and didn't know where they are. And so now you can, as you can see here, they're right here in front. And you go in and you can drop down and, save those filters the way you want to see them. And when you click on it, the state of your dashboard will pop right into play with those filters that you've set up. You can also, excuse me, you can also save a specific state, name it, or if let's say you've may have wanted to set this for a new quarter, let's say in this particular state, I'm looking at 2022 data for only our partners in the Asia continent, and now we're on Q3. I can actually go in here and save that state. I can grab the same line. Now I can change that to Q3 and create a new state and manage that and delete it later. Or let's say if I didn't have the quarters in there and I manually update it, we can actually do an overwrite, which will allow you to come in and, it'll pick the filter for this slider for you when you come back to it. You can also manage your states, rename them, trash them, and grab certain states that you may want to move around there. And then you can always go back to the original state. And the original state for authors is the state that you've saved the dashboard with. And then I'll go in here and show you guys if you've never used it or set it up before. If you click on the present tab at the top, data visualize the DVP buttons here, click on present, and you scroll down here to your workbook prep properties over here on the side. Look for personalization, and if that's clicked on, then the user will be able to see that state icon in the toolbar. If you turn that off, that means that whatever state that the author has saved that workbook or dashboard in will be the state that it always pops up. So, and you won't have the little icon, you won't be able to save the states. And why I mention that is it's kind of a user preference thing. You know, the group that you may be authoring for may not, you know, want to have the last set show up for you. And just remember that as an author, when you turn that on, whatever's highlighted is the dashboard tab that's going to be the state that it's going to originally be part of that original state, along with the filters that you save it in. So make sure that, you know, if I check revenue here, oh, hey, the gremlins. If I check revenue over here, then the revenue will be the, you know, the opening dashboard that shows up. So let me pop out of here because I see some gremlins trying to show up. And we're going to click on visualization. And so I just wanted to bring that to you. So I think it's really cool that they brought that in for us to, you know, make it a little bit more intuitive to be able to move through your states. And as you can see, it's not there as an author now that I've popped out of in and out of the edit mode. There's, you know, no state for me to show. That's something that will pop up at your when you open your dashboard. Okay, really quickly, the column switcher. So, like I said, I went over here and let me back out and open it up so I get my states. No need to save that. And we'll reopen. And then I'll go ahead and pull in my states. I'll pull that same state that I was in before. And notice now in this chart, I'm just looking at Asia. And because I filtered on Asia, there's only one option in here. I didn't do this for everything, but I did do it for this chart just so you know. We can now do column switchers, and they're pretty slick. There's no gigantic drop down or anything like that. You can simply just do the column switching here off the tab. So here I can now change this to get to the level of detail for the country name. Or if I wanted to do the subregion, I can pull up the subregion. That is the subregion, the region. And then, yep, country name is as deep as we get. And so we can see between Japan and Singapore what our gross margin profits are looking like. We can also do it on our value axis as well. So here, if I wanted to switch between the gross margin, the revenue, or the cost of goods sold, I can simply just click on this, and this will allow me to switch through between the chart. Really cool. Let me show you guys real quick how to set this up. It's a couple of steps you want to go to get it done, but it's not complicated. So make sure you're on the visualization that you want to do the column switching on. And this is something that's going to be useful in your, you know, your bar charts, your line charts, your scatter plots, visualizations like that, that have these accesses. They won't be, you know, it's not going to be available for your table pivot charts. Anything that has, you know, your axes that you're going to move back and forth, that's where you want to set it up. You also want to go in here to your properties, and in your properties, and this is under your axis labels, there is an option, excuse me, where is my option? Axis labels. Where are you? Uh-oh, did I lose it? Excuse me. Advanced properties. Once you go into your advanced properties, then you turn on your column swap. So this can be turned on and off. And after you've turned on your column swap, then it's ready to go actually. So there's nothing else in the properties in the value axis that you actually need to do. I was thinking about the next feature ahead. over here, once you've set that up, what you want to do is you want to use these related columns. Now, if you've never used the related columns and you don't know what they're there for and they've been around for a while, here's a perfect excuse for you to use them. Anything that is now a related column, anything that you want for to drag in, and you don't have to have a specific path. I can drag anything that I want to do a column switching on, and your attributes are going to meet on your attribute access, and your measures are going to meet on your measures access, so your values access, right? And so I've got 2 measures here and 2 attributes here, and it just automatically knows how to figure out which one is which. And if you're using related columns for other things in this visualization and you don't want to actually show these, you will just select one of the columns and then you can uncheck use column swapping. And so so let's go ahead and take country name out of there. And then when I look at this, now I only have 2 options. But really cool feature. I like it. It's really clean. You definitely want to make sure that in your value access that you have them turned on. So for my gross margins, you want to make sure that, my labels, my value access right here, you want to make sure that the labels are visible. Did I click the wrong label? Click the wrong label. None. Okay. And auto. Or you can customize the name. You want to make sure these are visible for these to work. And the next feature here is kind of a cool feature. If you're been around long enough to work in Classic and you're still working in Classic, aka OBIEE, you'll appreciate this new feature. This is the shared filters group. Now, I don't have a shared filters group set up in this dashboard, so let me go ahead and move to our sales dashboard. And in the sales dashboard, we swing to edit mode here. We'll just jump right in. We have the shared filters group. And what this does is this allows you to have, based on the data that you have selected, to create a group of shared or common filters that you may want to either have set up for very similar dashboards or workbooks, common workbooks. What I love this feature for is if you've got multiple workbooks for maybe a specific department and they use a lot of these repetitive, pretty much the same filters over and over, instead of you having to go into the bar here and have to drag it in, set it up, drag it in, set it up. You can create a common group now, and in the common group you can it now becomes a filter, and it's connected inside of these shared objects, which allows me to so I'm using sales history here. This will allow me to use the same filters in another workbook. So I'll open up the workbook that I was in, go here to your edit mode, and now I have these shared objects available to me because they fall under the same data connection. And then when I bring them in, they're usable for me. Now these are locked, right? There's a little link button here. When you first bring it in, they're locked and they're connected to this filter group. When you have them connected to the filter group, whatever is changed in the filter group will change for all values, right? So if I go in and I click on edit filter group and I change that value, it changes that value for everybody or every workbook that's using this filter group. If you click on this and you click on this link right here and you break the link, now it's free to just set it up just specifically for this dashboard. Now, let's talk about how to set one up. Really simple and really easy. If you right click here, you can create a filter group. If you click your plus button here, down here at the bottom on your filter bar, you can, right below the expression filter, you can create a filter group. And then if you right click on your shared objects, you can create a new filter group. You can give that filter group a name. And if you create it from here, let's create a new one, create a filter group, and we'll call that new. Make this as quick as possible, and then drag in, or you can select anything from here. Let's just grab product name. And I don't have to select anything, but once it's in here, you want to make sure that you drag it down here to shared objects. And then once it's in the shared objects folder, right click and then save shared objects. And once you've saved that, now it's available for all workbooks and all users. All right, how are we doing on time here? It's 10:52. Are there any questions? Should we keep going? Jim?
We actually did have one question from Branden, which was, if you move objects, does it break references or linkages to the other objects that were using them?
When you mean move objects?
Yeah, actually, Branden was asking that. So,
yeah, I can actually jump back in. So, if you have something in the catalog, particularly on a dashboard, you've got a reference to a report, and then the next thing you know, you move that object to a different folder, it's going to show you that it's missing now. Have they been moving objects in the catalog without preserving references to what it was before?
Yeah, you know what? Because they reference off their IDs now, they should stay referenced no matter where they're located. So if I go into inspect and I look at the alias number, this guy right here, where are you? This one, this object ID. So the object IDs actually have changed as well. And you can reference, if you for some reason change the object ID, you can actually put in the old object ID into here as an alias. But when you move it around, they're referencing the object ID, not what folder it's in. But if you change permissions, then you may lose access.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which may actually be desirable, right? I guess in a way, if you wanted to secure it.
Depending on, you're right. Yeah. So now you had to explicitly go in and secure it, being able to drop it into the different folders. It should take on the on the security. And one other note, when you bring in a data set, it will now be saved under your folder. So typically it would just assign your name in the data set, right? And you'll just be the owner. Now it actually saves into your My Folder space. And then you can pick up the My Folders just like you would if you had a workbook, and move that into some folder inside the share folder.
Slick. Wow.
Yep.
That is some cool stuff. We have just a couple minutes to wrap up here. That was the only question we had today. I presume it's because we've covered so many things. So outstanding job, Carter. Carter's first time presenting, and he pulled this together at my request last night. So pretty impressive. You can tell he's got quite a bit of experience, and I hope we're going to hear from him again in the near future. Outstanding job, everyone. I just have a couple of last minute things to do, which is talk a little bit about other things that are present. By the way, we've added the January 26 and November 25 new features links here. I pulled these in. These are short links that OAC usually provides out there, but we have a cornucopia, a plethora of other links that you can take a look at to find out more about Oracle Analytics Cloud and all of the great features there. Also, just a reminder that later today, you'll come back to our homepage here and andouc.org/techcasts, and you will see either today, later today, or tomorrow morning, more likely, an updated page, which will have this presentation out there, and hopefully including the slides. It might take us a little longer to get the slides out there, but you should see that either later today or tomorrow morning. And then finally, just to wrap up, Analytics and Data Summit 2026, one last pitch. As I mentioned, we did finish our early bird pricing this past weekend, but hint, hint, if you know some of the folks that are sponsoring this event, you can take a look at that on our sponsors tab of our homepage. There's a chance they may have a couple of extra coupons for you to save as much as an extra $100 off your registration in the coming weeks. We are literally 10 weeks away. And I have 2 presentations I have to get done for that. But we are very close to a fantastic summit. If you've been at past summits, you know how cool it is to be out at the OG headquarters. And we're going to have some outstanding speakers from Oracle, product managers, distinguished product managers, and of course, a plethora of Oracle ACEs and ACE directors also presenting this year. And with that, I want to thank Branden, Gautam, and Carter for an outstanding job today. Thank you all very much, and thanks for everyone attending.